Greetings all. Thanks for taking the time out to connect in today. We're very encouraged by the progress we see when churches engage in the NCD process. We see increases in church health, growth rates, and get to hear leaders speak in wonderment about things starting to happen all by itself. So we have plenty to thank God for over many years now. But sometimes there are nagging feelings that maybe we should be expecting to see even more fruit. After all, if the whole kingdom enterprise is powered by none other than the Spirit of God, and what we're doing in NCD is removing barriers to give him freer reign, then isn't it reasonable to anticipate there being a whole other level beyond what we currently view as good progress? Along these lines, some of the questions I and other coaches have pondered are, does NCD have the capacity to speak into my current church landscape even more than it has before? What do I do with some of those churches who engage or did engage in the process, made some progress, but then seem to get stuck? And how does all the narrative around new expressions of emerging or missional church relate to NCD principles and practice? Do we stay the course with NCD principles, or are we missing something? Well, all these points and more have been threads of research and development within NCD for some years now. The discoveries and paradigm-shifting practical implications of all this are the content of my upcoming webinar, The 3 Spheres of Natural Church Development. So please allow me to give you a quick preview. We're all very familiar with the standard NCD process. Take this example church. They should celebrate their strength of passionate spirituality and work on their minimum factor of gift-based ministry. They should then move on in the process, having released the work of God to a greater extent, and begin addressing their next minimum factor of inspiring worship service. Then they just repeat it all again. While that remains the tried and tested NCD process, are there any important differences between subsequent NCD cycles? This question has led to identifying 3 spheres of natural church development. These spheres are not part of a prescriptive process. Instead, they represent a descriptive observation of how natural church development takes place. So everything about the 3 spheres concept, from a coach point of view, relates to gauging which sphere a church has entered and helping them into the next sphere when it is the right time to do so. So, what are the 3 spheres? We've chosen to call them the leadership sphere, the congregation sphere, and the community sphere. By way of quick summary, the leadership sphere is where the key influences of the church begin addressing their first NCD survey results. What our research indicates is that they tend to approach the results in a strongly organizational manner. Having usually started in this way, an adjustment is then needed to emphasize more of a personal response to the results. At this point, usually around the time of their second survey, their process expands into the congregation sphere. After all, the health of the church is the health in the heads, hands, and hearts of its people. So, understanding your NCD results as a discipleship minimum factor issue needs to become an essential part of the picture. Moving on, we can summarize the community sphere by asking a question. Where do church members spend the vast majority of their waking hours? The simplest answer is, not in church-organized activities. Even a very active church member may only spend up to maybe 10% of their waking hours in such activities. So, addressing issues of church health must include a significant focus on where the church members spend most of their time, that is, in the community sphere. Only after seeing these 3 spheres of natural church development more clearly did it become apparent to us that existing NCD tools, and others already under development, have a direct affinity with each one. Of course, there is a strong natural connection between the NCD Church Survey and the leadership sphere. It provides the overall picture of the local church they are responsible for. Then we have the NCD discipleship tools that are specifically targeted on the challenges the leadership will face when the time comes to expand into the critically important congregation sphere. Finally, we have a soon-to-be-released tool called the MyOikos survey. As many of you know, oikos is the Greek word for extended household. So think of the MyOikos survey as a way of taking NCD principles into the home, the workplace, the school, basically everywhere that people need to discover life in all its fullness. Embracing these three spheres of natural church development has the potential to dramatically increase our expectations of what good NCD progress looks like. A potential natural breakthrough that will see the transformation of leaders, disciples, and as a result, society itself. Thanks for listening, and I really hope you can join me for this upcoming webinar.